yourself, yo. One time, if you ain't yourself, yo. One time, if you ain't yourself.
Hey everyone, Tim here again for Droid Life, bringing you another video review, this time for the LG Watch Sport. As you may have noticed, Android Wear is back in the news again, thanks to the launch of Android Wear 2.0, as well as LG's launch of the Watch Sport and the Watch Style. Kellen will be handling all of our Watch Style coverage, and I, personally, will be guiding you through our experience with the Watch Sport. I see both of these devices as sort of Nexus-like in that they do represent Google's vision for Android Wear 2.0 here in 2017. And with that being said, there are a lot of differences between the previous version of Android Wear, so we're going to dive right into it. This is our review of the LG Watch Sport. First off, let me say, I don't recall ever experiencing a more smooth and fluid Android Wear experience. Now this is likely due to plenty of work by the teams at Google, but I assume the Snapdragon Wear 2100 processor with 768 megabytes of RAM have something to do with it too. Other specs for the Sport Watch include a crispy 1.38-inch Circle POLED display with a resolution of 480 by 480, 4 gigs of onboard storage, Bluetooth 4.2, NFC for mobile payments, plus a very large 430 mAh battery. For anyone looking to use the Sport Watch for fitness, the watch also comes with GPS, a heart rate monitor, and an IP68 water and dust resistance rating. The specs are very good, and at the price of $350, you really shouldn't expect anything less from a smartwatch these days. The first thing you might notice with the Watch Sport is its massive size, and how could you not? With a 45mm casing, it's one of the larger Android Wear watches on the market currently, and to compare, both the Moto 360 2nd Gen and Huawei watch have a 42mm casing, but do keep in mind Moto did offer an even larger version at 46mm. Regardless, if the initial size doesn't deter you, you will be met with a heavy metal premium body made of 316L stainless steel. The watch is rather heavy, weighing 89.4 grams, 85 if we're rounding up, something to take note of if you are prone to wrist fatigue. During my time using the Watch Sport, I found that I could not comfortably wear the device for more than 4 to 5 hours or so, simply because my wrist would begin to fatigue. If you are only using the device to go for runs or do your thing at the gym for limited periods of time, you may not come across that problem, and that's a good thing. But if wearing the watch all day during a commute and then sitting at a desk for work is more like your intention, I will have to warn you. Due to its large straps and the inability to slightly reposition them like you can on other watches with removable straps, there isn't much wiggle room for your wrist when the watch is on. For me, that's a big downside. If I plan on wearing a watch all day, I need it to be comfy, and the Watch Sport isn't great in that department. On the upside of the hardware are 2 action buttons that flank the power button at the 3 o'clock position. With these buttons, you can program shortcuts into an app you use frequently. For example, thanks to the watch's ability to use Android Pay with NFC, anytime you're ready to check out in a store, quickly tap on the button and open up Android Pay. If you need quick access to your workout, hit the other button. All of this is programmable via the personalization option in the settings menu. And speaking of that rotating side bezel, aka the digital crown, I totally love it. Being able to fling through settings while not dirtying up this large screen is a lot of fun, and I'd argue this should be mandatory on all Android Wear devices. Now, should you find the Watch Sport more comfortable than I, the software is a real treat. This has been my first time using Android Wear 2.0, and I can say it's a big improvement over the previous version. As I mentioned before, the UI is very easy to navigate, and the entire system seems very smooth. When opening up an application or scrolling through notifications with the rotating side button, there is absolutely no stutter or hiccups. That's something I can't exactly say for older versions of Android Wear. While my overall opinion of Android Wear has increased, I still think notifications aren't being handled as best as they could be. In the previous builds, notifications would tend to stack on top of each other. If I had multiple Gmail notifications, they would group together. On Android Wear 2.0, they seem to stick apart. The same goes for other types of notifications such as Hangouts. While it does allow for a more actionable experience on notifications, just the idea of scrolling through each notification seems a tad unnecessary. Beyond notifications, communication in general from the Watch Sport is pretty sweet. Texting via the keyboard or drawing emoji is plenty of fun, and that tiny little keyboard is actually much better than I originally expected. Taking calls and placing calls is also fine with the built-in LTE, with folks on the other side being able to hear me just fine. Now, for me personally, I don't know if you will see me around town looking like Dick Tracy or anything, but it can come in handy once in a while. After this review, I'll probably remove the SIM though, just because the added cost each month doesn't seem worth it when I typically have my phone everywhere I go anyway. Utilizing that LTE connectivity also plays bigly into the watch's battery performance. The Watch Sport has a large battery of 430 mAh, and you may have thought you can expect crazy good battery life. Sadly, that isn't the case in varying circumstances. With all the features like LTE and GPS, plus gestures that continuously use the watch's sensors, the battery life I experienced was quite abysmal to begin with. For example, I would take the watch off its wireless cradle at 8 a.m.-ish, and by 5 p.m. I was at 20 some odd percent. By 8 p.m. it was dead, or at least on the verge of dying. However, that was with me using it basically trying to kill it, as any good reviewer should. As I started using it more and utilizing built-in options to help preserve my battery, I saw much better results. If you disable LTE, disable the tilt to wake gesture, and also disable the always on screen, you can get much better battery life. With those options disabled, I could get through my day of 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. no problem. I was also using Wi-Fi quite heavily and not relying solely on Bluetooth for my smartphone syncing. The thing is, what good are all these features if they end up killing my battery life at an insane rate? If someone does live a lifestyle where they would benefit from LTE and GPS on their wrist, I assume they would hope to get all-day battery life like everyone else does. On the Watch Sport, that just isn't the case. Considering I'm not the only reviewer I've heard of to come away not too impressed by the watch's battery, my guess is Google and LG might push an update to help address this problem. However, there are no promises on that front though. Given the Watch Sport has LTE, you can find it not only on the Google Store unlocked, but also through carriers like Verizon and AT&T. On the Google Store, you can buy it for $350 unlocked, then take it to one of the supported carriers. Through Verizon, they show two options, $330 on a 2-year contract or $380 outright. Given that's $30 over retail, I'd recommend purchasing through Google, then taking it to Verizon if using it on their network is your plan. For AT&T, the price is $240 on a 2-year contract, but I have heard from at least a couple of people who purchased the watch straight up from AT&T and then simply added it to their existing plan for a small monthly fee. The real question is, should anyone actually spend $350 on the Watch Sport? And if I'm being honest, and I always am when it comes to this stuff, it's definitely a hard sell. We're undoubtedly going to see more Android Wear 2.0 devices this year, so my suggestion would be to hold off until we see what else comes. The Watch Sport offers plenty of nice features, but the battery life and clunky bottom is just a little too much for me. And there you have it, our LG Watch Sport review. To wrap up my thoughts, while the hardware of the Watch Sport is very nice, it is just a little too big and uncomfortable and clunky for me. But if you are someone who can sort of get over that feeling, maybe it feels good on your wrist, then more power to you. You will be met with a very nice Android Wear software experience. With that being said, I can see the benefits of having Android Pay and NFC on my wrist, but at the same time, I just don't know if it's worth it. $350 for what is essentially an extension of my smartphone. If I can just walk into a store and pay with NFC on my phone, I would probably just do that. I don't know if I need to pay $350 for the convenience of doing it from my wrist. But with that being said, it is 2017, it's a new year, so we should have plenty of new Android Wear 2.0 devices probably launching here at MWC and in the months following that. So a lot of good stuff on the way. If you are curious to learn more about Android Wear 2.0, we do have a full overview video, and you can find that right here. And if you want to be notified when Kellen uploads his watch style review, you can subscribe by clicking right here. And until then, we'll see you next time. Peace.